Q factor or stance is how far apart your feet are when you're riding a bike. It's a measurement which is often overlooked by riders and even bike fitters, but an incorrect stance can cause lots of problems. In today's episode, bike fitter James Thomas is going to tell you everything you need to know about stance and how to adjust it.
We've come to find that stance has a massive impact on your interaction with the bike. It can influence how you interact with the saddle, your hip function, the amount of pressure that's going through your feet. It can even go as far as to removing knee pain from the equation. It's a massively important aspect of your fit that is usually overlooked. What if your stance is too wide? We're going to start with this because it's something that we very, very rarely see. And to be honest, the only time individuals who are predisposed to having their stance too wide are generally much smaller individuals, smaller women as well, particularly if they're using something like a power meter pedal system, which generally has a wider stance and a wider Q factor. The problems that it can typically lead to are iliotibial band-esque lateral knee pain, so pain on the outside of the knees, because what it tends to result in is the feet to be splayed like so, and you start closing down the outside of the knee. If I'm honest, this is really uncommon. We don't see it very often. What we far more often see is an insufficient stance. We've come to find that this has a massive impact on a rider's interaction with the bike. I now reckon that I probably increase the stance, I would probably say in 80 to 90% of my customers. Working on the fact that bicycles over the last few decades have become increasingly narrower, mostly to enable 20-year-old, 60-kilo athletes to pedal through corners. Remember the triple chain set? Well, we did away with that because of the added complication, but also to get those feet close together. Because the closer the feet are, when the bike's tilted over, the more clearance you've got for pedaling through a corner. The vast majority of people who are riding bikes don't even need to do that. 99.9% of us don't need to pedal through corners. So we find ourselves having to increase the stance in order to mitigate it. There's a number of issues that can occur as a result of your feet being too close together. The first of which is if your pressure on the outside of the feet. When your feet are too close together, it has a tendency of essentially supinating the foot and driving onto the outside of the foot. This is something that often leads people to go to a wide-fitting shoe, but actually in reality what needs to happen is your feet need to be further apart. Bilateral medial knee pain, so knee pain on the inside of the knee that's occurring in both knees, is quite commonly associated with insufficient stance. As the knee passes through the top of the stroke and abducts, so it comes out away from the center line of the body, you start closing down the inside of that knee, and as a result that's usually where the pain manifests. We've also come to find massive implications in the saddle with stance increase. It can usually result in a more balanced interaction from left to right, and it usually result in a greater level of saddle comfort. We've also found it to reduce weight on the hands as well. So how do you adjust stance? As we discussed earlier in the video, there are a number of ways of doing it. The first is to start off with the shoe, and by adjusting your cleat location to set the cleat more medially placed underneath the foot. So we're talking about getting the foot more underneath the big toe. What that will do is it will space the shoe away from the bike. So if you do this, what that will generally do is increase your stance. Not by a lot, a couple of millimeters per side, depending on the pedal system that you use. This is achievable with a Look, Shimano, and also Speedplay pedal system. The next way of increasing stance is through the use of pedal washers. Now, we actually carry these neat little pedal washers from our friends at Form. It's a 2mm pedal washer. You can just use a conventional 1mm and just stack them. It's worth noting that certain pedal systems will not allow more than the use of this. In fact, actually, it's really only Look that you can use more than one of these because they've got a deeper thread pitch or they have a longer thread on them. With a Shimano, you can only get away with one of these, same with the Speedplay. But this can be a very useful way of experimenting with stance at a very, very low cost. We usually find ourselves having to carry out the cleat adjustment, the pedal washer adjustment, and even the pedal adjustment. There are a number of pedals we've found on the market that now offer a difference in stance. Shimano is one of our more popular options. It comes in a standard Ultego with a 52mm Q factor, and then there is also a 4mm increase with a 56mm Q factor. These are both widely available, but you can buy them in our store as well. We've also found a small German company called SQ Lab who they make saddles, but they also make a number of different pedal systems that have different axle lengths. So they do a Look Keo compatible 8mm increased stance and also a 15mm increased stance, and they also do an SPD mountain bike style system in, again, 8mm and 15mm. It's also worth noting that most pedal-based power meters increase the stance of the rider, and for smaller riders this is particularly worth noting. A lot of these companies don't actually give you this information, and when they do give you the information, they make it sound like it's either a good thing or it doesn't actually impact you. Assioma and Garmin are the two main power meter pedal manufacturers, both of which offer a slight increase in stance. One pedal system that we do find ourselves selling quite a lot, particularly to individuals who need a dramatic increase in stance, is the fantastic Assioma Duo Sheet, which replaces the axle system of a Shimano pedal and dramatically increases the stance to, I think it's 8mm increase. In conclusion to this video, I wanted to point out that it's really worth experimenting with this metric from a bike fitting standpoint. Individuals who typically need to have an increase in stance are generally larger people, but most average size individuals need it as well. But it's particularly worth noting that people possessing a trait known as tibial varum, which is a sort of bowing of the tibia, almost always need a dramatic increase in stance. And this can be irrespective of their overall build. People with hip impingements can also benefit from an increase in stance. So it's really worth exploring this a little bit more. And as we talked about, you can do it relatively cheaply or even free if you're just talking about the cleat side of things. So pressure on the outside of the feet, pain on the inside of your knees, any saddle related issues, and a load of weight on your hands, have a go at increasing the stance and see what you think. Let us know in the comment section below to see if it's improved things for you.
That's all for today's episode. If you have any questions about stance, please put them in the comment section down below, and I'm sure James will do his best to answer them. Check out his website in the video description too, and please subscribe to this channel for more.